For another look at our expected stats team. This is a team we set up for the Generals Charity League in game week 9, so it didn't exist before game week 9. So not surprisingly, it's rather a long way down the standings, but it's been performing quite well since its inception. It's doing really good. So we'll have a look and see what's what. I mean, last week we got 58, which was enough for a green. Our average was 48. 58 was probably round about average for the decent players. And we'll have a look in the Calm Fundraiser, which is the league we're mainly interested in. We're up to 116th out of about 300. So they're more proper managers and that. So we're doing quite well there. Now, this is quite an interesting team for last week because it's really maximised its front seven. Our defence, we don't have Robertson, Mendy or Alonso. We don't have any of those. In fact, our three defenders only got 4 points between them, whereas most other teams were getting their points from their defence. But you can see that overall we've still got a decent score for the week despite having none of those people, which is quite encouraging because mainly you can see we've got David Silva in there, which a lot of teams wouldn't be able to afford that extra striker. We see we've got like 3 premium midfielders in there, and Fraser as well is pretty good. So we're doing quite well, I think. You don't really need these top expensive defenders. This is the point I keep making. And you look at this front seven, it's almost ideal now. We're going to have a look at the expected stats to see if we need to change anyone this week. We've only got 1 free transfer and we've got 0 in the bank. So we'll have a look and see if the standings have changed. Now this is based on expected goals and assists. So we've got Aguero, he's still top. We've got Hazard. And we've got Salah. We've also got Silva. So we've got the 3 best premium midfielders in the game. And our other one is Fraser. And we can't afford to replace him because all the other options that are above him are far too expensive. There he is. He's still quite up there. Look, he's ahead of Pogba and Bernardo Silva and other decent midfielders. So we won't be replacing any of the midfield this week. And the strikers, I think we've got Aguero, Wilson and Ings. So the only other one we'd see Vardy's. It's been like this for a long time now. Vardy's ahead of Ings. But again, it's the price. So we can't really swap Vardy and Ings, so we're not going to be making any transfers amongst our strikers this week. The defence, we've got Doherty, Digby, Balbuena, Aki and Bellerin. Now I don't think we're going to change anyone unless they're injured. We're not really touching the defence unless we've got 2 free transfers and nothing else to do. And because we've only got 1 free transfer, we'll be saving this week. Now we went over the Watford one last week. We didn't bring him back in, did we? I can't remember his name now. And we didn't bring him in anyway. And we'll have a look. And he's probably still right near the top, wherever he is. I'll soon go down and have a look at the defenders, see where they are. Got a brain like a sieve, but it really doesn't retain any information. Holebas, that's it. He's the top defender still. And we didn't bring him in last week because he missed 2 games. He was suspended for a game and then he wasn't picked for the next game. So we didn't immediately bring him back in last week and he scored. So he really is attacking dynamite. So next time we do have a free spot in defence, we'll be bringing Holebas back in unless he goes missing again. Because he's so far ahead of all the other defenders. I don't know who our worst defender is at the moment. Let's have a look and see what it would be. Actually, we won't bother. But basically, the team's looking good and we're going to save our free transfer. And this is our team for this week coming up. We've got a really strong looking team this week. I mean, that defence, all 4 of those with the keeper could be looking at big scores this week. You wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets like 12 points or whatever. I think, you know, this again shows another reason why you don't need these expensive ones. Because even on a week where they did badly, it didn't matter. But on a week like this one coming up, they could actually outperform the top ones, and we'd still also have a really strong front seven. So we could actually get some really massive green arrows at some stage from having a differential type of defence. So the captain would be whoever's top of the poll. We don't know yet. It'll be Salah or Aguero. So one of those two will be captain. And Bournemouth players have got a fairly difficult fixture, but then again, Arsenal's defence isn't all that, is it? So you can see Bournemouth getting some attacking points there this week. Ings has got a good fixture, but the trouble is with Fulham, they've changed their manager, which is probably bad timing for Ings, I think, this week, because he would have been looking quite good otherwise. But you can see Fulham are going to be making double effort, aren't they, next week? But you never know, he might still score. And that's about it, I think. So that's the team anyway, and we're doing well. We're cruising up the table. And that's about it, peeps. Nothing much to report, really, is there? So I'll do one of these every week anyway, even when not a lot going on. And that's my channel there, and that's about it, peeps. And I'll be back next week with a big green arrow for the team, I expect. Okay, cheers.